Alton Towers is the UK's largest theme park and houses some of the best rides in the country, when they're actually open. The park currently features 8 major roller coasters, some including the Smiler, Wicker Man, and of course, Nemesis Reborn. The park originally opened in 1980 and has changed ownership multiple times. Since 2007, it has been operated by Merlin Entertainment. And during the early years of this ownership, particularly in the early 2010s, the park saw significant investments, such as the additions of 13 and the Smiler. However, starting in the late 2010s and especially post-COVID, the park has been struggling in many areas. And now in 2024, it has appeared Alton Towers have hit their lowest point yet due to multiple issues. If these issues aren't addressed soon, the park risks continuing this downward trend, which could severely impact its reputation and overall guest experience. The biggest issue plaguing the park in recent years has been the extremely poor reliability of its attractions. Alton Towers has never been known to have good reliability with their coasters, but in 2024 it's on a different level. It has now become a pretty rare sight to be able to see every single coaster in operation at the same time for more than 30 minutes at the park, as typically 1 or 2 coasters are always down at one time because of a technical issue. And when these rides go down, they don't go down for just around 20 minutes or so, they go down for hours, and sometimes they don't even reopen for the day. In addition to midday breakdowns, ride availability at park opening has become even worse. Although all rides are advertised are opening at 10 o'clock, some rides such as the Smiler don't even operate until the 2nd or 3rd hour of the day, which is just atrocious. This really limits the amount of people that can experience this ride in a single day, while also increasing the wait times for other rides. How it has been recently is 1 or 2 roller coasters open at 10 o'clock and then a few others open at 11:15. For which, from a park that is advertised as the UK's best theme park, is atrocious. These late openings cause people to go to their favourite ride to find out they're just closed, and then they check the app and rush to the only ride that's open, and that ride has a massive queue for the rest of the day, making it extremely hard to even ride these attractions on quiet days. And this year, the capacity is even worse, with rides such as Hex and the Sky Ride being closed. Hex was supposed to open sometime this year. It ain't gonna open this year, I tell you that. Along with that, the Sky Ride is closed until further notice. The Sky Ride being closed is the main issue though, because it can take up to 15 minutes to walk from one attraction to another, and without the Sky Ride being open, you'll be doing this all day. And some guests just can't take this big trek to one ride, so therefore they stay in the same area of the park and ride the same few rides a few times, which doesn't help with the guest experience and overall does not help the park's capacity. Another issue that doesn't help the park's capacity is planned maintenance on rides, like Spinball Whizzer, where they installed a single rider queue mid-season instead of just waiting until the end of the season to do that. There was no reason to close it for around 3 days just to add a single rider queue, but they did it anyway. This once again just doesn't help the capacity of the park, and it doesn't help the guest experience either, as they only put it on their ride availability website a few days before it happens, so therefore people going to the park don't really check it that close to the date, so therefore they have no idea it's closed. Another thing that's showing the decline of Alton Towers is the fact they no longer show their queue times on their app unless you're at the resort, which is very weird seeing as Legoland, Chessington and Thorpe Park, all owned by Merlin, allow you to see the queue times even when you're not at the park. I have a feeling this might be because of the park's poor operations and they don't want to put off potential visitors, so therefore they just don't show it unless you're there. But that's just speculation, but it's just still weird that they do it. Moving on from the park's abysmal operations, another ongoing issue involves the way the park handles the ride access pass guests, who seem to be overlooked in favour for fast pass users. While Alton Towers uses the same ride access pass system as other Merlin parks such as Thorpe Park, the issue lies in how many ride access pass groups can go in at a time. Throughout the last summer and up to recently, it has been reported that staff at the queue line merger points prioritise fast pass holders over ride access pass users. This on its own is actually pretty normal, because most parks do prioritise fast pass over ride access pass just a little bit, because they need to get those people on because they paid for a service and they don't want complaints. But having actually been in the ride access pass queue and witnessed how they handle both queues, it is a little bit outrageous. Especially the way they handled it on the Smiler, the place ride access pass users should not be queuing at all due to all the effects that go on in that one building. The staff were prioritising the fast pass users a lot more. They were allowing around 10 groups, not just 10 people, 10 groups of fast pass users past the merge point, and then after this they were let on around 1 or 2 ride access pass groups. And because of this made ride access pass groups queue in that building with the strobe lights, the screaming, and all the effects for around 35 minutes. Even though the whole point of the pass is to not queue. Moving on from that, this year the park has implemented some pretty big cuts. An example of one of these cuts is the removal of staff from the entrance of certain rides, which means guests no longer have anyone to answer their questions or height measure their child before entering the queue. And this leads to a lot of situations where the family enters the queue, waits for a long time, and then finds out their child isn't tall enough. Which I tell you as a ride operator is one of the most awkward things you can experience. In my opinion, the worst cut was found in summer and is also found at Halloween, with the park cutting some of its operational hours. Originally the park was supposed to open until 6 PM on most days last summer, but then they cut them down to 5 PM last minute. And most people didn't know this because they did it at the very last minute and people normally book months in advance. And they didn't know, and it caused a lot of confusion, along with ruining a lot of people's days. It's unclear why these cuts are happening, but hopefully there's not too many more because the resort is really being impacted by every single cut, and I'm very scared to see what the next one is because it could be something major like theming. And for all we know, it might have already happened. So guys, those were the main issues I wanted to bring up in this video and why I think Alton Towers is starting to decline. I think it will continue this way unless these issues are resolved. Do you guys have any more issues with the park that I didn't mention in this video? Let me know in the comments below. And apart from that, thank you for watching and keep on dispatching.